Hi, grade nines. Just wanted to go over part 2 of our unlikely bond assignment, and that is going to be getting rid of the gun in his hand and replacing it with something else, depending on who your chosen unlikely bond is. So in this case, when I've got B bond and we've got Bieber's face is done and he is holding a lollipop. Now what I'm going to do is I'm going to delete all of my hand work right here, and then we're going to get started. All right, so I'm going to have my background duplicated. Now the first thing I need to do is create a new hand, and I'm not going to draw it from scratch. I'm going to copy his right hand. So I'm going to grab my selection tool and make a selection over his right hand, left hand. Now remember, I want to be copying from the layer that I have selected, so I'm going to go Command C. I'm going to create a new folder which we're going to call hand, and I'm going to go Command V. Back to my arrow tool. That now gives me a new hand, which I'm going to put over here. Now he is not weirdly double jointed, so I'm going to flip it horizontally. So I'm going to go to Edit, Transform, and Flip Horizontal. And that gives me a flipped hand. Now what I'm going to do is very similar to what we did with with the face. I'm going to drop the opacity of my layer, and I'll zoom in, and we're going to just start aligning things up. So basically looking at the sleeve on his shirt, and we're going to rotate it outwards. So I'm going to grab my transform tools, so Command T. Now see this little dot here? I'm going to drag that up right around where the wrist rotates, and I'm going to rotate the wrist slightly. Okay, now very similar to what we did with the face, I'm going to erase the wrist part because he's not going to be wearing two watches, so I'm going to be erasing up here. That little bit of the pants here, we're going to erase separately. So again, my eraser tool, I'm just going to erase the sleeve of the shirt and the wristwatch. So just more or less like that, and then maybe just down in here a little bit. Maybe slightly smaller. Let's go back a couple steps. Maybe just move that up a little bit higher. All right. There. Not bad. Again, you'll fine tune yours, but that looks pretty good. We want it to look like one hand, and we will get rid of this part in a moment. So what we're going to do right now, now that we've got sort of the wrist matched up in the way it should be, I'm going to make a selection around the pant leg. I'm not going to use the eraser tool to get rid of the pant leg. I'm actually going to use the pen tool, and that's a new tool for us. So what I'm going to be doing is actually making a series of points. So I'm just clicking with the pen tool around the pant legs, tracing around the fingertips as much as possible, because this is a complicated bit to erase, so we just want to be a little bit more accurate and get right back to the point where we started, and that will close off our selection, at which point we can right click and choose make selection, feather at 0, and now with my hands layer selected, I'm going to hit delete, and that deletes around where the pants were. Okay, now the only thing that's left is to cover up this little bit of the fingers and of the tip of the gun, which is from this layer here, because remember, this hand layer is basically all of that. We need to fill it in with some gray. So what we'll do is we're going to go back to my background layer. I'm going to grab my clone stamp tool and maybe make the brush size just slightly larger, and I'm going to command click, and then again just paint over with gray. Command click, and then do the same thing here and here. We should be looking good. So now when I zoom out, we can see that we've got a good looking hand. Now the next thing I would do would be to find an image of something that I want to be in the hand. I used a lollipop. You can use something else, but the key is to use the pen tool. Very much like, can't go back all the way. If I just don't save it and open it, the key would be to still use the pen tool and the eraser tool to make it look like it's gone underneath of